Have you ever found yourself in a conversation, already knowing exactly where it's going, and yet choosing to say nothing? Not because you don't have the words, not because you're unsure, but because somewhere, almost instinctively, you realize that explaining what you see would take too long, or worse, it would come out sounding wrong. This is the quiet paradox of highly perceptive minds. People with deep thinking patterns, high cognitive complexity, or elevated intelligence are not lacking expression. In fact, their minds are often overflowing with connections, predictions, and layered interpretations. And yet, they are the ones who stay silent the most. Not because they don't want to speak, but because they've learned that when they do, it rarely lands the way it exists in their head. So over time, something subtle happens. Silence becomes a strategy. From the outside, it can look like disinterest, like detachment, like they're not fully present. But that's not what's happening at all. That silence is not emptiness. It's calibration. It's a form of social self-regulation, a decision the brain makes after calculating the cost of being misunderstood. And if you've ever felt like your thoughts are just slightly out of sync with the room you're in, this might be closer to your experience than you think. Because in this video, we're not talking about habits or productivity or visible traits. We're going somewhere quieter. We're going to unpack the thoughts that highly intelligent people carry every day, but almost never say out loud. And more importantly, the psychological and neurological mechanisms behind why those thoughts stay hidden. And by the time we reach the final layer, you might come face to face with something you've never quite admitted to yourself before. Let's begin with the first pattern. There's a moment that happens more often than people realize. You're in a meeting, a conversation, or even a casual discussion, and within seconds, you can already see the likely outcome. The flaws, the consequences, the direction this is heading, and yet you stay quiet. From the outside, this silence is often misunderstood. People assume you're disengaged, passive, or not contributing. But internally, something far more complex is happening. Your brain is running pattern recognition at a high level, connecting past experiences, subtle cues, and incomplete information into a probable future. Psychologists call this an awareness gap, the distance between what you perceive and what others are ready to see. Neurologically, your prefrontal cortex is actively simulating outcomes ahead of time. But here's the conflict. If you speak, you risk sounding arrogant. If you don't, you isolate yourself. So the silence isn't ego. It's calculation. Now here's the second pattern, and it's often even more misunderstood. From the outside, it looks like distraction. Your eyes drift, your responses slow down, you seem elsewhere. And people assume you've lost interest or that you're simply not engaged. But that's not what's happening. Internally, your brain hasn't checked out, it has shifted gears. What looks like absence is actually deep background processing. The default mode network, a system in the brain associated with internal thinking, reflection, and simulation, becomes highly active. You're not ignoring the moment. You're processing it at a deeper level. This creates a strange paradox. On the surface, you appear still. But underneath, your mind is making connections, running scenarios, and reorganizing information in real time. So the truth is, this isn't disengagement. It's processing mode. And most people don't realize the difference. Now pause for a second. Have you ever felt like your mind just won't stop? Not in a dramatic way, not panic, just a constant stream of thoughts running in the background, even when you're trying to rest. This is where things get deeper. Highly intelligent minds often experience continuous overthinking, not because they lack control, but because their neural networks are more densely connected. Different regions of the brain communicate more frequently, more efficiently, and more persistently. In simple terms, the system is always on. Even during moments that are supposed to feel quiet, the brain keeps scanning, analyzing, predicting. And this comes with a cost. Heightened awareness often leads to mental exhaustion, not from doing too much, but from processing too much. This is the central paradox. Intelligence is both a gift and a burden. Because what looks like anxiety on the surface is often something else entirely. An overactive pattern system that doesn't know how to switch off. Now here's where it becomes more human and more difficult to admit. There's a quiet feeling some people carry, the sense that they are seen, but not truly understood. Others recognize their intelligence, their insight, their ability to figure things out. And the assumption quickly follows: you're smart, so you're fine. But that's the misunderstanding. Psychology calls this the visibility paradox, when a person is highly visible for one trait, yet invisible as a whole. You're known for your mind, but not for your doubts, your emotional depth, or your need to be understood beyond that label. And over time, something deeper forms. You learn to hold parts of yourself back, to avoid vulnerability, to keep certain emotions unspoken because, at some point, it didn't feel safe to share them. So the loneliness here isn't about being alone. It's about not being met on the same frequency. And when you put all of this together, a pattern begins to emerge. Seeing ahead but staying quiet. Processing deeply while appearing distant. A mind that never fully switches off. And a feeling of being understood, only on the surface. These aren't separate traits, they're connected. At the core, this is nervous system adaptation, a brain that has learned to regulate itself in environments that don't always match its depth. Over time, this turns into social filtering, choosing what to say, what to hold back, and when silence is simply easier. It's like having a radar that's too sensitive. You don't turn it off. You learn to lower the signal. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Not every environment has the bandwidth to understand you. And that silence you've been carrying? It's not weakness. It's control over where your cognitive energy goes. So when you step back and look at all of this together, a clearer picture begins to form. The thoughts themselves are simple. I can see where this is going. I'm not bored. I'm just waiting. I wish I could turn this off. I don't think anyone really understands me. Individually, each of these might seem small, easy to dismiss, easy to misinterpret. But together, they tell a very different story. Because these are not signs of arrogance. They are not signs of coldness. And they are not signs of disconnection. They are the result of a different cognitive system operating beneath the surface. A system that processes faster, deeper, and more continuously than most environments are designed for. And that changes everything. Because intelligence, at this level, is not just about thinking better or knowing more. It's about experiencing reality differently. It's emotional. It's social. It's the constant negotiation between what your mind perceives and what the world around you is ready to receive. And if you've ever felt out of place because of that, it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It may simply mean you're processing the world at a depth that not every space, not every conversation, and not every person is equipped to meet. That doesn't make you too much, and it doesn't make you misaligned. It means your system is tuned differently. And here's something even more important. This gap, the space between what you think and what you feel safe enough to say, doesn't only exist in highly intelligent people. It exists in everyone, just at different depths, for different reasons. Understanding that gap, both in yourself and in others, might be one of the most overlooked forms of intelligence there is. So before you leave, sit with this for a moment. Ask yourself one honest question. Are you silent because you have nothing to say? Or because you've learned that when you do speak, no one truly understands? Deep Ravines Lab Protocol. Characters and stories are AI-generated for motivational insights. 2. Content is curated for entertainment and exploring the messiness of human psyche. 3. No proselytizing or harmful content.